Good evening. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So, good evening, everyone. We are pleased to have all of you here today to give you a brief introduction about Atticus Advisors. Atticus Advisors is a management consulting firm which also provides training for corporate skill development. Atticus Advisors provides certification programs followed by live project opportunities, which enable students to build their profile for entrance preparations, job interviews, higher studies, and holistic upskilling. For today's session, we have onboarded Mr. Partho Sarathi Ghosh. He is an electrical engineer from Techno India, Kolkata, and an MBA in finance from NMIMS Mumbai. He has over 7 years of experience ranging from sales, operations, analytics, and management consulting. He has got extensive experience in insurance, retail, pharma, and BFSI sectors. He has been pivotal in converting as well as servicing a large number of clients for Atticus Advisors in both management consulting and service operations. Apart from Excel and PowerPoint, he is also an avid reader and writer, which contributes to his storyboarding skills. Today's webinar will be taken by him. We thank Partho sir for giving his time for us. Sir, it's time to hand over to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Sunipa, for that. Very kind words. All right. So I can clearly see that everybody's video is off. I'm hoping that you're all doing well. Can you all hear me? Okay. I'm assuming that you can all hear me. Because of network issues, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off my video. I'm going to come straight to the point, and I'll be sharing my screen. If at any point of time, any one of you cannot, yes, yes, Red. Does Redmi want to say something? Mega. All right. So as you can, I'll just share my screen. What I'll do is, if you have any questions, just unmute yourself and post it on the chat. If I don't look at your chat also, then you have your WhatsApp and you can text us in that group. And then one of us, for example, Sunipa or me, who will be replying to you. All right. So I'll get going. The agenda for today's quick short webinar is kind of to give you a debrief of a larger program in MS Excel, MS PowerPoint, and soft skills that Atticus wants to conduct for your demographic. This course is particularly directed towards people who are between 21 to 27 years of age, which is people who are going to complete their undergraduation or have just completed it. They're going for job interviews. They're going for They're going for entrance preps. They're going for MBA colleges or MBA entrances. This is also for people who are in their MBA first year or in their second year, who are either going for their internships or they're going for their final or their summer placements. All in all, the Excel and PowerPoint knowledge that you would be taught if you take the complete course would be more relevant for you if you're looking for hands-on experience, which means that you want to actually use your, yes, Mega, do you have something to say? Mega, if you have something, maybe you can drop a chat, then we can see it. All right, going ahead. If you have, if you are looking for job interviews or the other bits, that is when it will be most useful for you. This is not going to be very theory related, where I'm going to be explaining the background of MS Excel, PowerPoint, or of those things. It's going to be very hands-on on how you're going to start using your tools. For now, for the course content for this half an hour, I've considered only these 5 functions for you. Sunipa, can you see the screen? All right.
Yes, sir, I can see the screen.
Great. For anyone, which is very unlikely, if there is someone who's looking at MS Excel for the very first time, this is how MS Excel 2016 and 19 onwards looks like. As you can see, it starts with the top, which is the functions bar at each of them, this being the ribbon. You can select on every individual tab. to reveal more and more possible functions. The difference between MS Office 2003 versus 2010 versus 13 versus 16 is the content inside this. Between 3 and 10, there was a significant amount of difference. So if any one of you has got the older versions, MS Office 2003, 2007, it would be a very good idea to upgrade yourself to at least a 10 and above. Those who have got 13 and 16, you would find a lot more number of options in the data tab. Your data tab is particularly useful if you are pursuing a degree in finance or in marketing, because this helps you convert a large amount of data very quickly. Alternatively, if you do not use MS Excel, the alternative for that would be MS Access or using SQL. However, MS Office 2019 and 2016 are significantly useful for looking at very large amounts of data also. All right, I'll start with the first one, which is SUMIF. SUMIF is a very basic function. I'll be using a couple of shortcuts very quickly. If any one of you has a problem understanding what I just did, then let me know. I have simply pasted the value here to make it look like a set of variables. Now, if I were to paste this value again, just a simple Excel trick, the value will disappear because the function is pasted here instead of the value. What you rather have to do is to paste it as a paste special value, which comes here. How did I do the paste special? It is no magic trick. All you do is do a Control C. Go to the paste special menu. Go to values, and you have your values. Right. Do we have someone texting us? All right. Let us suppose that A1, B1, C1 are 5 different types of costs associated with the company. So let me start making your Excel tab look more like a balance sheet or an income statement. You remove the non-essentials. You bring your formatting a little appropriately. You insert a row. All of this which I'm doing is very easily taught. There is nothing magical and nothing very quick happening. Go ahead. Now, let me assign some values to them, or cost value. Let us say that this cost summary sheet that I'm preparing here, which is hypothetical data, is for 2018-19. What you have here is the 5 cost heads and 5 cost values. Let us say that the cost values typically for A1 always range between 500 to 1000 every year. Does anyone know what would be a random way? This is an Amazon moment. If one of you knows, you can reply on the group. Does anyone know what would be a way to put a random value between 500 and 1000 in this cell? You do not need to speak it out. All you have to do is type it in that WhatsApp group. Does anyone know how do I enter a value which is random between 500 and 1000? It is quite simple. Do you guys want to take a little bit more time? Does anyone want to give it a shot? Okay. Somebody texted. Okay, no problem. Equal to rand between 500, 1000. What you have here is a random value generated by MS Excel, which is between 500 and 1000. Now, what happens when I drag this value below? You have another set of values which are all randomized between 500 and 1000. You copy and paste it again, you would have
मामा
sorry,
एक बुक और पेन लेके आना खाली कोई भी एक
yes, Redmi had something to say, I think. Do you have something, Redmi? You just raise your hand. Okay. Come back to this. Once you start pasting the values, they are all randomized and they will all be between 500 and 1000. Are they going to be distinct? No, they may or may not be distinct values. So you can have the same value pasted 5 times because you will be pasting the same formula 5 times. Okay, now let's make this realistic. If I have a cost value which is 734, it is quite less. How do I make this realistic? I say all figures are in INR thousands. Now, how much is this value? This value is now 8.82 lakhs, correct? 5.04 lakhs. Okay. Now, we have got 5 sets of values which are sitting here. Now, what happens when I continue doing this for a second set using the same formula? This formula here is concatenate. This is A and this. All I do is paste this here. And I have more random values. Now let's say that your costs have some categories, which they usually do. What that means is A1, A2, B1, B2, they are all in the same category, which is category type A or category type B. How is that realistic? Let us say that you are listing down all the costs in a company, but you are writing them down not as IT, but you would be writing them rather as IT infra cost, IT applications cost, website design cost, application design cost, and so on. All of this is categorized as an IT cost. So when you have data which looks like this and you have to roll it up, it is particularly useful to have a tool like Excel. So what do? You have the cost overhead here. Let's create categories. What is the category for A1? Let's say the category is AA. The next two are BB. Next two are CC. Last is DD. When you have this, you want to find out what is the total cost for all AAs, all BBs, all CCs, and so on. How do we find that out? Let me just repeat that. What you have in front of you is the cost summary for a year for a company. In this cost summary, you have the details listed here as A1, B1, C1, and so on. You have the categories next to them. Now you have gone to your boss or whoever is the owner of the company, gone to your CFO, and he says, hey, you know what? I don't want to see in so much detail what are the individual costs. Why don't you tell me what is the cost of total IT, or what is the cost of total HR, what is the cost of total marketing? There are 2-3 ways to do this. We are going to try 2 ways. First is the categories itself. What I do is this shortcut. Okay. Another Amazon moment, if anybody wants to have a go at this. How do I go from cell C9 and select all the way till cell C19. How do I go from cell C9 and select all the way till C19? How do I do the selection? So how do I select all the cells from C9 right up till C19? I will give it 5
Control
seconds.
shift and down button.
Very good. Who was that?
Chirag Rajpat.
Awesome, Chirag. Can you just also type that here? We don't want to fight later. You who said what? Just type that in that WhatsApp group. Sunipa, can you make sure that the WhatsApp group people can reply? Then it's easier to control. So
they can just try.
great. So what you, as Chirag rightly said, you do a control shift and down. So you go to C9, you press control, you press shift, and you press the down button, and you select them all. Okay. Now that they are there, let's have one more Amazon question. How do I select? Let's say I've just copy pasted this table here. There are two tables here, right? How do I select only the table on the left and not the table on the right? What is the way to select the table on the left and not the one on the right? Now, I don't want one of you to tell me the obvious thing. That's why don't you just take your cursor and drag it over or something? That is the that is the most obvious way. However, if your table had more than if a table had more than 50 columns and more than 500 rows, and there were multiple tables in the same sheet, you'll have a very hard time getting your mouse over here and dragging them. So it is another Amazon moment. Does anyone know how do I select only one of the tables and not the other? What shortcut is that? So the neatest way to do it is to do a Control A. So this is where Excel is smarter and therefore more different from the other tools that you have been used to in MS Office. Tools like PowerPoint or tools like Word, where if you do a Control A, you would be selecting everything, right? But in MS Office understands that if you are going to talk about a specific table or a set of values, you are only concerned in copying or working with that specific set of data. So even though you might have 10 amount of data here, you put your cursor here and you select this cell and you do a Control A, you're selecting the entire sheet. Whereas if you go here and do a Control A, you only select the table. All right. Coming back to here, small shortcut that I used. How do I select the entire column? It is a Control space bar. How do I select the entire row? Does anyone know? One moment. Okay, I'll tell that in a little while. How do I select the entire row? Whoever knows can text it down there. So right now, let me look at the categories. These are the categories which I have. Does anyone know how do I get a unique set of values from here? So to get to a unique set of values, all you have to do is go to data and remove duplicates. When you click on remove duplicates, if you have multiple rows selected, it will give you multiple columns selected. It will give you multiple column options. Right now you have selected only one and therefore you will go for OK. You had 5 duplicate values here total and they have been removed, and thus you have been remaining with only 5 unique values. All right, good so far. Let's quickly come to the SUMIF. SUMIF is a fairly straightforward formula. All you do is a sum if, which is an equal to a sum if. For some of the ones who have never seen an Excel before, this is called a formula bar. Whatever you type here is also reflected here. For those who are ready or new to work with Excel, Excel is the one which will teach you more than I can or anybody else can. Because the moment you've done and open the bracket, your data tab is automatically selected and your sum range is automatically selected. Your formula definition, apologies. Your formula definition is automatically selected. So you have your range, your criteria, and then your sum range. Your range here is this, which is the total range in which you are going to check for the criteria. Your criteria is how many of those costs have from category AA. What is the sum range? The sum range is where the value is actually present. The value is present in this range. So that's the range, the criteria, and the sum range. 1686. So if I were to actually total these two, how do you total them? You select them two together. You would find another nifty calculation done by Excel, which is their average counted total. So you are correct. So in your formula, when you did a sum if formula, you've gotten the right value. Now, here is an Amazon. Let me just up it. I'm sorry, Sunnipa, you get a little angry with this. What will happen if I drag this formula below? This is a bigger question. Does anyone want to have a go at this? What happens when I drag this formula below? You've got two
Formula
options.
gets copied.
Again, so you have to text it. So I'll give you two options. I think this is Chirag again. You've got two options. Either the formula gets copied and you get the correct values. Second is the formula gets copied and you get incorrect values. And third is the formula does not get copied at all. What happens when I select this and I drag this like this? Option 1, does the formula get copied and you get the correct values? Formula gets copied and you get the incorrect values. And third is nothing happens. I count till 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, a couple of people have tried. When you copy this and you paste it below, the formula will get copied, but you will get incorrect values.
You have to freeze the range, right, to get correct values.
Yes, very right. When you're talking about freezing ranges, what you mean is we don't want the formula to be looking all over this array or this table. So when you have put in a range here and you have left the values as free, what it will do is it will automatically start moving. Okay, so that's what is happening here, which is why here the range correct selected is C10, C19, D10, D19. When I come here, you see the first one is knocked off. If I come here, third one is knocked off. Now it so happens that coincidentally, because of the way I have sequenced this, which is A, B, B, C, C, while I'm going down, the formula is also getting copied in blocks, and therefore the value you will be getting is the same. So what you want to do is to fix this, you have to freeze your sum range by pressing F4 and your range. This. Don't want to freeze your criteria range, your criteria, because your criteria is changing everywhere. That's your sum if. Great. Cost. Next is number of overheads. Very simply, equal to count if. Here again, what would be your range? Your range would be this. Let us freeze this. The criteria will be this. What you're doing now is, in the countif formula, they will be checking in the C10 to C19 range. How many times does AA occur? It's twice. This is quite obvious. Okay. Let me just drop the ante a little bit. Make it 500 again, or else Sunnipa will call me. Another 500 Amazon question. So I said that there are two ways to arrive at this, which is using the sum if and count if. Is there any other way that anybody else knows in which I can make this table? Is there any other way? Given that this is your master data or the master amount of table that you have, is there any other way that I can make this table? So whoever is sort of been paying attention, and I'm hoping all of you have been, this takes a lot of time to create. This was easy because there were only 5 or 6 categories. If there were more, then it would take a longer amount of time and more number of manual steps. So while there is nothing wrong in this approach, and there is absolutely nothing wrong in the way that we did it, the number of manual steps to arrive at this is very high, and therefore this is more prone to errors. So when you've got a lot of data and you're working, you want to start making a good habit or a good practice to reduce your own number of personal steps. So you have to make reusable or reworkable steps in order to make sure that your errors in your data set is limited. I'll give it 5 more seconds. I'll count till 5. Is there any other way that we can make this exact same table? 1, 2, 3, 4,
So
5. Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Go on.
it is a bit a long way. So can we do that way? Like we can apply filter on category and select only AA if we want, and we can find the cost and overheads also. But it will take a lot of time if the data is too big. So the way
Great way.
you did, it will take a lesser time, and the second way which I am
So
telling
let
will
me
take
just
a lot of time.
right.
But that is a way.
That is also a way. Actually, that is not the way I was looking for. And Chirag, good points for thinking out of the box, but negative points because the amount of error you're introducing in the system. I'll just quickly tell you guys what Chirag just mentioned. What you're doing is you're adding a filter. Adding a filter is fairly straightforward. You go to data and click on filter. What we want to do is then just select AAs, and then I see, hey, there are 2 AAs. So I just type here 2, and then I can manually do a sum, which is 1288. This works when there is very less amount of data and the answer you're getting is going to be the same, but the error chance increases a lot. Also, every time you have to redo, every time there is a change in your base data, you will have to redo the whole thing. So then there is a constant link between you and the file, which means if I'm your boss, suppose whoever, a very qualified person is your boss, and you have sent him this file, and then he says, you know what, I am not happy with this. Sunipa or Megha, I'm not happy with this. Change the BB into CC. Then you will have to do the entire process again. Whereas this is automated because this is looking at formula. Other way, the answer which is most often to be used by you guys, and this is the last thing that we're going to talk about in these 25 minutes, is pivots. Sorry, my bad. Insert pivot table. You select the table and you go to insert, click on pivot table. Let's decide where we want to paste the pivot table. Let's say that I want the pivot table right here so that we can see. Now what you have is a pivot table. Sorry. Now you have your overheads in your rows. You have your categories in your rows, right? And you have your cost value here. And you also have your cost values again here as your count. So what did you do? You created a pivot table of your base data. In 4 clicks, you arrived at the same table which you made. Now, if you have to make a change here, suppose, sorry, I just hard code this into something, then this was updated, but this was not. So you're going to say, hey, sir, I mean, why do you have to do a shortcut, but then the data is still stuck in the old world? What you do is you go here, you right click on the pivot table and you click on refresh. So now, again, they're reflecting the same. All right. There you go. Cool. I'll just refresh this once. For some weird reason, it's showing the older data. So now you've got the data here, which is the same as the data here. Does anyone have any questions right now on the bit that I have covered right now? Before I move on to the next topic. All right. The other thing that I wanted to cover in this webinar, and this is something, this one shortcut which I taught you here, I thought this is something that's going to be very useful, whether you are in HR, marketing, finance, IT, whichever field of line you are, wherever you're going to be using MS Excel, it's going to be very useful. The other bit that is going to be useful is working with data and how do you work with them. So what I've done is I've taken the annual report of TCS, and this is what I've opened to their financial results. This is for year 2018-19, right? What you have in front of you is an Adobe PDF version of the annual report. So it's very important for you to remember this. It is the Adobe PDF version of the annual report. All I did was come to the financial statement sheet. I've opened this, and this only works on this. Suppose someone gives you this file and someone says, why don't you make an analysis of this financial report or financial statement? What is going to be your first step? The first step will be kind of to copying all the data from here to there. That is one of the more ignored parts of your analysis, but it is very critical, which is the quality of your data. Your entire analysis, your entire study, your insights, your outputs, your results all depend upon the quality of data which your file has. And the poorer the quality of data or the lower confidence you have on the quality of data, the bigger the problem. The more number of manual steps that you have in obtaining that, the bigger the problem. So, what is one way to do it? Let us say I copy this. Amazon moment. I'll just flash that. What happens when I paste this? One, it will paste in one row. Second, it will paste in one column. Third, it will paste exactly the way it should be. It looks like here. So it looks like a table right now. So when I paste it, option one, it will paste exactly the way it looks like. Option two, it will paste all in one row. Option three, it will all paste in one column. You guys have, I'll count till 10 for this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. When I paste, it's all one column. It's one column. Don't get mistaken because it is longer. It is all one column. So it's other income, then 7627. It's other income 7627, 5803, 431, 13642. This is tedious. This is very tedious. There is a way to convert this into tables, but I'm not going to show you that. That's a little longer process, and that talks about delimiting and other stuff. I will tell you the right way in which you want to convert a PDF file into a table which you can use. All you have to do is press the Alt button. Now, if you can sort of lean into the screen a little bit, when I place my cursor here, you would see that the cursor looks like an eye, which is how the MS Word cursor looks like. The moment you press the Alt button on Adobe PDF on a table, it looks like a box. When it looks like a box, you can select a column. Press Ctrl C. Let's do that again. Select it, copy. Next. Now you would still have to do a little bit of cleaning, which is the expenses tab, the space bar did not capture. So after 103, you'll have to insert a row. The shortcut to insert a row, by the way, is press Alt once, then press I. And as you can see on top, that's the older Office shortcut that have come. Then you press an R. Same ways, you have just before the 30065, right? You do and insert a row here. This is a neater way in which you can copy your data from your PowerPoint, from your PDF to your Excel. Okay. If you've got no further questions, then I would like to talk a little bit about what I would have taught you in PowerPoint. Any further questions right now from anyone at this point? Any hands raised?
Hello.
Yes.
Can we use SUMIF, COUNTIF for different sheets?
You can use SUMIF, COUNTIF for different sheets. You can absolutely do that. So what I will do is, I will just copy this tab here. I will do Control X. So that means I've cut the table and I'm pasting it here. Yeah, there you go. So right now it is referring to sheet 1. You see this? Let me just rename this as base data. So do you see? Now I'm on a different sheet and this reference to this. You can also do sum if count if on a different workbook altogether. All right. Thank you. All right. Anybody else has got any further questions? Okay. Moving ahead. What we have here is 5 types of costs which we have summarized into the total costs and the number of overheads. Let's say another way to say this is, can we call them as, let's just turn this around into areas. So this could be area A, B. So I'll just paste these as values, because if they're still continuing as formula, then there's a problem. I'll paste these as revenue areas. So do you understand what I've done? In order to continue